Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Parenting Hour. You're tuned into Unity FM 93.5 here in the West Midlands and 105.1 if you're tuned into us on Inspire FM in Luton and Milton Keynes. We're here with Brother Saeed this evening, mashallah, talking about how to be a resilient family and giving you the skills and the knowledge to put things into practice to develop that resilience. And actually, we all need to be able to develop that resilience as a family. We never know what can happen to us. So much things going on in the world at the moment, so much disasters happening, but we don't know what effect could that have on us, on not just the price of petrol going up, but on food products and maybe, shops. I don't want to scare anybody, but if shops started emptying out and food products weren't there, how can we as a family be resilient through times like this and think differently. So now is the time to start thinking about that when we don't have those situations, so that we can test out some concepts and be ready and be prepared, inshallah, if we do need to use them, inshallah, these concepts, inshallah. Sorry, that's my phone going off a little bit straighter. Alhamdulillah. So, inshallah, Brother Saeed, let us continue with point three you were wanting to make around the
Yeah,
importance of problem solving you were mentioning
yeah,
there in the
yeah,
break.
yeah. So problem solving is one of those, the more you learn to problem solve. So one of the things that, sometimes you can have a problem or difficulty. So you can either feel miserable about it and nothing will change, or you can start focusing on the solutions and problem solving, and that will help you to navigate the challenge. Or you can start thinking about what is, how can I look at it from my perspective, different perspective, maybe analyze it from different angles, or sometimes accepting that there is no solution for this problem. There are things we can solve and things we can't. So it's focusing on what we can do and not focusing on the things we can't. So when we think about problem solving, it's about involving children from an early age. The family that is resilient, they look at things constructively. They always see the opportunity, as we mentioned earlier, in how to find ways and means to overcome difficulties. So they engage everyone in the problem solving process, and they say to the children, what do you think about this? What do you think we should do here? So they learn to engage in that process. Um, as we already mentioned, it depends on the age of the children. But each problem, can be, even if it's only a small thing, where do you think we should put this chair? Or where do you think we should put this book? What shelf would this book fit on? Fit better in terms of the space we have. Um, so when we do that, we engage building healthy habits and problem solving. We also involve them, as we said, in decision making. We focus on, okay, where do we think we should go on holiday, for example? Or what do you think we should have for dinner this evening, or something like that? These are small things that we don't even talk about, but they involve the children in terms of decision making, in terms of belonging in the family.
Mhm.
And then they learn how to overcome, big issues. Saving money, we're spending so much money on this. What do you think? How can we save a bit more? Or how can we help, build a resource for us, if things were hard in the future? How can we support one another in a better way financially? So those kind of ideas, when they're shared and we build the idea of a team, that filters through to the minds of all the family members, that we all belong in the family, that we all have a positive contribution to make, and we all are going to be valued, heard, listened to, and appreciated, regardless of the contribution we make, how big or small.
So it's building a team. So teams are not just about football
Yeah,
or other sports there. We can have our family team as well and building that together because we all need each other to be
yeah,
better and to take on different roles. And I like the idea, of like we said about dinner or dessert, or
mm,
giving some choices there, even, choices about when children are going out somewhere, do you want to wear this or this? I mean, it's still a choice if they're very
yeah,
young,
yeah,
to
yeah,
put on clothes. You're still teaching them to have that choice, but you're actually in control of the whole environment. So it's not opening the wardrobe and saying, what are you going to wear today? But it's actually choosing two items. It's kind of developing those skills at a very young age.
yeah, absolutely. And that allows that their sense of autonomy, their sense of agency, their sense of, development. So that's really helpful way of kind of folk making the small things that we take for granted, we don't even think about, into learning skills, into giving our children life skills. And maybe in the future show, we'll talk about the importance of life skills, especially developing life skills with children. Often we teach our children how to be academically skilled, but we don't teach them life skills in terms of how to manage relationships, how to have healthy discussions, how to have dialogue, how to demonstrate respect, and all those kind of things that are so important. So those only can be engaged and be built if we have a healthy environment where we work as a team together as a family. So one of the things that can help us to kind of cement that and build on that is our, what we do as in terms of our faith in the
Mm,
family. So for example, praying together as
mm,
a family. So one person is, bringing the prayer mats, they putting them on the floor, in direction of the Qibla. The next one is doing the adhan.
mm,
One of the others is going to lead the prayers, and someone is going to do the iqamah, do the iqamah of the salah.
mhm,
And then at the end of the salah, someone making dua for us, when we finish the salah, and so on and so forth. Small things can be, that we just do as individuals. Often in the house, we pray individually, but we can build the jama'ah as, we stand shoulder to shoulder next to each other in the prayer.
mhm,
So that helps us as, help the children to have routine, to have, that to be organized, to be connected to one another, knowing that, that Islam values discipline and values structure and values, how we can help each other and do things together as a family. Making dua is so important, that we can make dua together as a family. We also make dua for one another. So imagine if you went to your son or daughter and said, today I made this dua for you.
mhm,
How would they feel? They will learn to make dua for you as a parent as well.
mhm,
And they'll say, Mom, I made this dua for you today.
mhm,
And that will make you feel good, bring a smile to your face. So making regularly reading Quran together. So we read the Quran, we focus on the small chapters that the children can relate to. And we tell them, what does the words mean? We tell them about the reasons why the chapter was being revealed. We explain to them about the context and the of the chapter and the content. What does this mean for us? How can we apply this in our lives? We look at prophet stories, for example. So, you pick this story today, another person will pick another story tomorrow, and we try and look at them using language that is accessible, try and bring them into life, where, how can we, copy some of these values that are in these, stories in the Quran, or how can we copy some of the, in our lives, some of the things that will help us to navigate, like patience, gratitude, resilience, tawakkul, reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are so many things, for example, I'll give you very short example, brief example, the story of Maryam alayhi salam,
mhm,
when she was given birth to Isa, how she felt so lonely and she felt so sad. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Maryam to shake the palm tree so the dates will come to her. If we explain to the children that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his in his wisdom, asked Maryam to shake the palm tree. Why? Because he could have given her the dates very easily. Because he's already given her a child, without having a father, a husband, a miracle child. So Allah Azza wa Jal could have given her those dates, but Allah's showing us and showing that when we read the story of Maryam, that we have to do what is in our capacity. So we're responsible for doing what is in our capacity. We're not responsible for the results, but we're responsible to do what is possible for us. So like a child may want something. Okay, maybe they want a toy for Eid, for example. So what can we do? So I'm going to give you money every day. Can you save for that toy? So they learn, okay, if I want something, I have to work for it. If I want something, I have to earn it. It's not going to be just handed to me without, any kind of effort. So we learn from the story of Maryam that we have to have endeavor, commitment. We have to use what our strength and our abilities to do what is possible, so we can have, the things that we want to, and Allah will give us the rizq, but we have to earn it. Like if you say to the child, if your dad doesn't go to work, he's not going to get any money, but he have to go to his work every day.
Yeah.
But his rizq is guaranteed by Allah, but the means he has to earn it is through the job that he has. Yeah. So everything is explained in a very simple language to the children. Everything is kind of related to everyday life, so we can help the children to understand these traditions and Islamic values through our everyday living. So we're not disconnected. We don't just pray and we don't understand, okay, what does the prayer mean? What values can we learn from the prayer? What things can we take forward? So how we can build on the values that we learn. So what does prayer mean in terms of teaching us? Does it teach us good manners, good akhlaq, good ethics, good morals? Does it teach us how to stand in order next to each other? So that means that we have to be respectful of tradition and respectful of people, respectful of all the things that, allow us to do things in a orderly manner. Not, we don't like disorder. We like things to be in order. Not meaning that we have to be strict about things, but just learning discipline from an early age and doing things with, at the same time having fun with things. So it's about that balance, between striking the balance. We don't just allow things to be like free for, all for everything to do their own thing without any guidance, without any supervision.
Yes, so we need to be there to with those guidelines, with those boundaries in place, with that supervision, but at the same time enabling the children to grow in confidence, giving them tasks, giving them skills, letting them to know what to do, giving everybody a little bit of responsibility. And this is so important actually when we're looking at the resilient family and emotional intelligence, because if a child doesn't have the confidence and have that emotional intelligence in the classroom to be able to understand that I know the answer, I want to put my hand and answer it rather than keep it down and not answer it, that will affect themselves and their own future possibly, and their academic intelligence, and so that they would need to work on that.
It does, yeah. Because often if you ask a child or if you ask an adult, what was it, the things that used to stop you from putting your hand up? And they would say fear. And where does that fear come from? Well, fear of judgment, or fear of people laughing at me or making fun of me. So in families, we listen to people. We, even if someone said something wrong, we correct them gently and kindly, and we don't, correct them in a way that is going to make them feel bad or make them feel that they're not, they got things wrong, and they're not intelligent enough, or they're not, they don't have knowledge. Or so one of the things is how we, correct people. Islam teaches us, when we make da'wah, for example, when we call people to our faith and show them our faith, Allah Azza wa Jal said, "Id'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah." call to the path of your Lord with wisdom and with sound advice, with sound example and role modeling what we want people to understand about our faith. So when we do that for children is how do we use wisdom? How do we use knowledge that is speaking to them at their level without making them feel they are inadequate or they don't have the skills or they don't understand. So it's nurturing them to understand by the breaking it down into manageable, things the children can digest at their age. The Prophet said, or there's a saying from the Sahaba, speaking to people according to their level.
Yeah.
So it's their level of intelligence, their level of understanding, but also their level of status. So if like a child, is sitting on the floor playing and you're trying to speak to them and you're standing up, they're not going to see your facial expression. But if you sit down on their eye level, they're able to see what you mean, even because the children are visual at that stage of their development. So they're more likely to relate to your face than your words. But if they can't see your face and they don't know what sort of expression, they're not going to relate to how the words you're saying sometimes.
That is so true indeed, that they're learning with their eyes and they're learning what you do and your expressions and how you do things rather than what you're saying to them. Yeah, subhanAllah. So that's why actually it's very funny when you've got very small little kids in the house and it comes time for prayer and they're only 1.5, 2, and even and they're putting on hijabs and they want to be the same as the mom and stand in line and they want to say some of the Iqama and they would go Allahu Akbar, but they want to be part of this indeed, it's part of the training.
Yeah, because they're looking up to the adults, like they're seeing the adults as the most important people in their lives. And they want to copy them. And that's a really good way of kind of teaching, because often we think about teaching that is it through words and just through, telling people what to do, but often is about the children and the people role model, also role modeling the actions and being the example. And the children following the example. So imagine, the memories they have, from an early age. They saw their mother and their father praying together. So when they grow up, that's what they want to do in their own family. And they will remember the grandparents, playing a role, how the grandparents influence the memories they have. If you talk to children, what memories do you have? And they will always, even if, as adults, they still talk about their grandparents. Even their grandparents might have passed away, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But they still remember very clearly when they used to go to their grandparents because of the love and the warmth they used to get from their grandparents and the knowledge and the wisdom and the teaching. Yeah.
That is so true, mashallah. Lots of lovely skills that we have coming together here this evening, mashallah, to help build that family. And we've spoke about the mindset in the beginning and forming the habits. And then we talked about how we build on that with effective communication and how to do that through listening and trust and talk without fear and giving opportunities to the young people and everybody in the family to express themselves, to stay calm, even if you don't like what's being said, stay calm and listen, let the person talk, and then try and look at it from their point of view and build empathy, but bring them back into the family situation again and getting them to look at different solutions and find out if the solution that they had thought of is the best solution or what's the other solutions. And I think, when you were talking about that part of the session there this evening, Brother Saeed, before the break, I was just thinking now about our teenagers that can actually put a lot of pressure on parents, and they, what teenagers are often doing, do things without thinking and then get into trouble or things are unsafe because they're not there thinking about it. And parents get very angry and stressed and actually start shouting a lot because they feel that that young person is not listening to them, and sometimes it can be things go right over their head that they just kind of switch off
Mm.
completely. How could you, in what we're trying to do this evening in problem solving, and we were just talking about spirituality, how could we help those parents, and what examples could you give them? Or is there an example from faith that we could help them to calm down in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, one of the Sahaba, the Prophet ﷺ told him that you have two qualities that Allah Azza wa Jal loves, Allah and His Messenger love, and they are calmness. And he said, Al-Hilm wal-Ana, so calmness, being calm, and having the ability to be patient, and the ability to endure and not to be reactive, to have forbearings, meaning that you are, when things are tough or things are kind of challenging or heated, that you hold back.
Mm.
And I think sometimes just stepping back a little bit. Sometimes when with teenagers especially, there is no point of trying to argue when someone is feeling very emotionally kind of challenged or strong about something or resistant to listen. So it's about giving people time to calm down. And sometimes it's not about winning the argument, it's about winning the person over to your side. I think often we spend a lot of time that, if I win the argument, then that means I am good. But often there is no point of winning the argument if you lose the person. So it's hard to find a win-win situation and focus on the behavior, not the person, in terms of, if you don't like the behavior, don't attack the person and don't criticize the person. The Prophet ﷺ, he would never say to someone, you bad because you didn't do this. He would say to them, how about if you done this? Or have you thought about this? So it's about giving the person the opportunity to explore different ways of looking at something, different perspectives. But the only way you can do that is when there is opportunity to have dialogue. So instead of argumentation, let's have dialogue. Dialogue means that there's about giving and take. It's about listening to the other side and appreciating their perspective, even if we disagree with it. The idea is not to, make them agree with us, but is to allow them to express themselves. And then we decide, okay, what is the best way of moving forward? And is about completing each other, not competing with each other. So it's about complementary ways of finding solutions to the difficulty rather than trying to compete who's going to win and who's going to lose. If you imagine when there's winning and losing, one person is going to feel good and the loser is going to feel bad. So we try and negate that and we try and mitigate against it so we don't have that kind of way of making people feel bad, but we try and make them feel part of the solution. We allow them the opportunity to speak, to express themselves, as we mentioned earlier, and then we validate, what we can, and also correcting without criticizing.
Mm. MashaAllah. I think that is very relevant, especially for parents of teenagers out there that get very stressed over their
Mm.
their children and do things. And you mentioned also there when we were talking about spirituality about getting everybody involved in the prayer or traditions or doing dua. And as we've only got a minute or two left in the show, I was wondering if we could end with some examples of that or do a little dua to inspire parents to help them to gather and the family together and doing little things together, inshallah. If you could give any examples before we end.
Jazakallah khair. So at the end of chapter 25, Surah Al-Furqan, Allah Azza wa Jal talk about the servant of the most merciful. One of the dua they make is رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Oh Allah, grant us from our spouses and our children the comfort of our eyes and make us good example and role models for the believers. One of the other du'as, Ya Allah, grant us goodness in this life and goodness in the hereafter. One of the dua is, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Ibrahim made, Rabbi ij'alni muqim as-salah wa min dhurriyyati rabbana wa taqabbal. Oh Allah, enable me to establish the prayer and my offspring. And Ya Allah, accept my dua. رب يغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. He made also dua, oh Allah, forgive me and forgive my parents and the rest of the believers on the day of judgment. So it's about involving the children in that dua that create that sense of community, sense of togetherness, sense of connectivity with each other, and making dua for, people who are going through tough times. So we take it upon ourselves so that when you make dua for someone else, there's an angel sitting on your right hand side. He will say, and the same to you. So every time is a win-win situation. You make dua for yourself and others. Allah Azza wa Jal will reward you. Even when you make dua for others, Allah will reward you with the same, inshallah.
MashaAllah, what a lovely way to end the season show. Jazakallah khairan, Brother Saeed. May Allah accept all your du'as, Ameen, inshallah. Accept all our intentions and everybody's dua that everybody's making dua for you this evening after listening to the show, inshallah. Ameen. Jazakallah khairan, listeners, inshallah. I hope you tuned into us again next week, inshallah, for another show, inshallah. Take care and don't forget those duas. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.